All right. Awesome. So just share my screen here. Sure. Looks like my system preferences have changed since the last time we presented, so I have to change my preferences and exit Zoom. So therefore, hey, Adam, do you want to pull up yours since you're going to go second, and can you run the slides for me as well?
Yeah, no problem. Let me just get that pulled up.
Thanks. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Really appreciate you guys joining us for this conversation today. So we're actually going to be talking about cybersecurity and how we're on the cutting edge of it here at PayPal. So Adam, next slide, please. So I'll be giving a little bit of information about PayPal, then give a little bit of information about my perspectives being a manager here in information security. And Adam's going to share a little bit about his perspective coming from student to employee, and then Yegana will do the same and talk a little bit about her research into the mobile security ecosystem. All right, next slide, please. So first, a little bit about me. So before joining PayPal, I was an Olympic wrestler at a Greco-Roman wrestling. It's pretty fun. Had a really good time. Did that for about a dozen years. I was also I have a PhD in computer science, focusing on biometric cryptography. So that was a pretty interesting ride as well. I started out at PayPal and eBay as an intern many years ago, and have been having a great time here ever since. I was a member of the technology leadership program here at PayPal. It's a 2-year rotational leadership program where you do 4 6-month-long rotations at different parts of the company. I did a rotation in diversity and inclusion, where I ran that for a technology organization. I did a rotation with the machine learning group in Tel Aviv, where we looked at some really interesting problems there. Did a rotation with our Braintree group in Singapore, focusing on sales engineering and just the technology they have and they're able to access to. And finally did a rotation in information security, looking at the security ecosystem around DDoS protections. From there, I joined a group called Security Threat Intelligence. And now I'm currently the head of applied research, product and consumer threat management within information security. All right, next slide. So now I'll give you a little bit of background about PayPal. So PayPal, we split from eBay back in 2015. So that's when we became an independent company. We quickly acquired Zoom. So that was really a good acquisition for us. Around then we hit the 200 million customer mark. We're doing really well. Late 2018, we actually went on an acquisition spree, and we bought iZettle, Hyperwallet, Civility, JetLore, just to name a couple. In 2019, we were one of the first to receive a payment license in China. We expanded Zoom to Europe. We acquired Honey, and then we hit the 300 million customer mark. So definitely a couple years of some really great growth for the company. And by early 2021, we're already at 392 million customers. So we're actually doing really great in terms of growth. And just, yeah, it's been interesting. All right, Adam, next slide, please. And so again, we're at just shy of 400 million customers right now. We have over 31 million merchants that we work with. We're in over 200 markets, 25 currencies, 20 languages, right? So PayPal is a large company, global in scale, just like literally global scale. We have a lot of, very, very diverse customers that we work with. Next slide, please. So again, when most people think about PayPal, they think about the mobile app, right? But PayPal is so much more than just a mobile app. Like for example, we recently acquired Honey, which is a company that does coupon codes, right? We also have Hyperwallet, which is another great company to work with. If people think of Venmo, right? People think of PayPal versus Venmo and how these companies are so different. But actually, Venmo is a PayPal brand, right? So it's great, peer-to-peer money transfers. We have Braintree doing behind-the-scenes payment, right? We have a lot of different offerings and services that are part of PayPal that go beyond just the PayPal app. So I definitely have a lot of different great options and offerings for our customers. Next slide, please. So now I'll talk a little bit about information security at PayPal. Next. From my perspective. So what is information security anyway? So our role is really to protect the customers and the business information from the threats and attacks that we see. So you can think of it like looking at this diagram, you can think of, for example, of, each layer will filter out different attacks, right? So you think of some of our controls, right? We have the app defense layer, which looks at, anti-automation, things of that nature. We've got credential layer, which looks at, making sure the passwords are correct, et cetera. We've got risk and fraud layer, making sure that, the person claiming to be you is actually you. And each layer we filter out a lot of the attacks and threats and try to minimize and or eliminate successful attacks against our company and our customer and our business information. Next slide. And so another way to think about this is lines of defense. So we've got the control owners. So the control owners are the ones who actually own and run and operate the controls. Like they're throwing CAPTCHA to people, they're doing step-up authentication, they're doing two-factor SMS, right? Then there's there's oversight. Oversight group really make sure that those controls are accurate and working, and they have coverage enough as they're supposed to. And then there's audit, right? Making sure that everything looks good. So our group is actually, we're part of the oversight group where we look at the controls, making sure that the controls are actually doing the job that they say they're doing, and that the controls are adequate to stop the attacks like we all think they are. All right, so that's our group. So next slide, please. Awesome. So threat management. So within threat management is our group. We focus on a lot of the research. So we do, like I said, product and consumer threat management and applied research. So in terms of products, we're talking about, control bypasses and things like that, the actual products that we offer and services we offer. In terms of threats against our customers, we're looking at, anti-phishing, some of the scams that happen, password theft, that's our areas of focus there. And in terms of research, we focus on collaborations with a lot of external universities and different groups within the company. For example, our university partnerships include ASU, where we do a lot of our scams and anti-phishing work, and Howard, where we're looking at IoT attack services. We also have interns and internships within our group. So historically, we've focused on PhD candidate research, where we're looking at PhDs in their last couple of years, doing some big meaty projects, and then we look to hopefully get those PhDs to join the company upon successful internships. We do summer internships, but also longer term, 2 and 3 year, so we can actually work with a student from when they're first starting their PhD project up until they're graduating again, and then hopefully coming in and join the company. But again, big issue here is we like to focus on having our interns serve real world problems. We also work with the Year Up organization. Year Up is a great organization supporting the youth in the community. We've been doing this for a number of years and provided some really great learning opportunities for them. And we recently started working with Apprenti as well. So Apprenti is for the folks who are getting a new career opportunity in tech. Next slide, please. So again, thinking about our team and what we look at and what we work on, we really want to have people with a wide variety of perspectives, right? We don't want to have just like computer science graduates and that's it, right? We look for people from, degrees in math, business analytics, and cybersecurity, even sociology, right? For information security. It's because the types of problems that we work on are so vast, we can't just have a singular, a singular type of degree being used to actually solve these problems. So again, think about the different areas of research, even within our own team, right? Mobile security, right? That's so much different than looking into security around cryptocurrency or even analytics, right? So for all these things, we need people with vastly different perspectives, vastly different experience and educational backgrounds, right? Whether a former athlete like I happen to be, whether you've had a break in your career, you joined in the military, et cetera. Like we need those different perspectives for information security here at PayPal. Next slide, please. Awesome. So again, so what do we look for? So when we're looking to hire somebody, right? Yes, technical acumen makes sense, right? We need somebody to be able to do the work, but more than that, we want somebody who's curious, who is has some interesting experience, has a positive attitude, really wants to work with others and collaborate. It's super, super important for us because you can learn the rest of these things, right? You can learn how to do the specifics that we need for the job But if you're not excited to be here, if you don't have passion, you don't have a growth mindset, thinking, hey, there's more, like there's more than I've experienced to this world, it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed, right? So we want people who are really hungry for more, hungry to learn, and are adaptable. So it's very important for the roles, for, you know, in terms of what we look for. Next slide. Awesome. And in terms of support, so PayPal actually offers a lot of support to employees, and so we have a lot of employee resource groups that offer support for you know, for different groups of people. For example, we have Serve, who focuses on veterans and their allies, and these groups are really great because it allows people with you know, like experiences to get together and support each other, to hold events and to really build communities. And we think that's super important here at PayPal, because it allows people to know that they're not alone, they're not the only one, and other people are there to support them. Again, it goes to show about how diversity is such a top line thing of importance here at PayPal. Next slide. And so again, going back to information security, so what I did here is we pulled the, I just went to the available jobs website that we have, looked at, you know, information security roles here in Scottsdale within the last, you know, few days. And looking at this, you can see that there are wide ranges in the types of roles that are available here at PayPal. Again, it's not just developers, right? It's not just CS people, right? It's you know, it's threat intelligence managers, it's security infrastructure engineers, it's cryptographic engineers, right? An analyst position, right? These are all very different roles that require very different backgrounds and very different skill sets. So again, going back to what I said earlier, it's not about just having a computer science degree. There's a wide variety of perspectives that we're looking for here at PayPal to run a successful organization. So with that, I want to turn it over to Adam, who's going to talk a little bit about his experience here at PayPal. So Adam.
Thanks, RC. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So I'd like to talk a little bit about my journey to PayPal, you know, and how I even entered cybersecurity in general, just to give you a perspective on, you know, one journey and one path that didn't really start from cybersecurity at all. So my background initially was in computer science. But I started with the focus on web development and data management, where web development was kind of my passion early on. And I ended up doing research on computer science education. So nothing really cybersecurity related. I was building these board games and trying to help students to, you know, better learn coding by giving them interactive project ideas and more engaging projects than, you know, your traditional coding assignments in the classroom. And after I graduated, I actually started running a photography website and, you know, applying some of those coding skills and web development skills that I had learned. And this is kind of where my passion for cybersecurity started. You know, I realized that attackers were interested in, you know, compromising the website, stealing the data, or exploiting the server. And, you know, I really started looking into what we can do to secure it. And as a result of that, I actually started my PhD at Arizona State University, which is where I really started to have, you know, a more formal look at cybersecurity with a focus on web security in general, and more specifically, scams and cybercrime. So I got a, you know, very close look at those different areas and performed research on anti-phishing and understanding how we can improve the ecosystem. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that research, as well as how that research brought me to PayPal. So PayPal has a wonderful internship program, which is a 12-week experience for university students, and it applies to you know, undergrad, master's, as well as PhD. And it's really custom tailored for, you know, depending on what types of projects you're working on. So, and your interest as well. So it could be a diverse range of majors, you know, ranging from economics, sociology, all the way to more technical areas like computer science, as well as business marketing. So there's a very wide range. And the university programs team puts on a bunch of different events for the interns to introduce them to PayPal, build a sense of community, and overall just connect everybody and make sure that that 12-week experience is as meaningful as possible. Now, when it comes to the internships and cybersecurity at PayPal in general, it really is all about solving real-world problems. So we saw a couple of weeks back that there was the Colonium pipeline hack, and a meat processing plant got shut down because of some security configuration issues, at those organizations. So if we're proactive about these kind of things, while working at an industry, we could stop attacks that have a real impact on the business, on customers, or on the employees. So, what does it take to succeed in cybersecurity, as well as, if you do join PayPal or work at PayPal as an intern? So I have a couple of kind of recommendations for key skills that we look for as you either apply for an internship or a position. So in my opinion, knowing the basics is really important. So having that foundational skill set, depending on the area you want to go into. In cybersecurity, it's often related to data analysis, being able to look at some security related data and understand that at a high level, and possibly through some degree of automation. So that could involve databases, statistics, or basic coding and scripting. Security fundamentals as well, kind of giving you a big picture of cybersecurity rather than the narrow area of focus that you'll be looking at, just so that you understand what are the different domains, what are the different types of attacks that could be related to the types of data that you're looking at. And it's also always good to come in with hands-on experience with tools related to those that you might be using for that purpose. So this could be database software or other programming languages or analytics platforms. With that background knowledge, you can then adapt to whatever new systems are in use at the company, and oftentimes those systems will involve large-scale data. So it's very different working with large-scale data compared to more academic exercises with sample data sets. So things might change slightly, but as long as you have that foundation on data analysis, then that shouldn't be too bad. And where the internship really is helpful and valuable is in allowing you to learn domain-specific knowledge. So let's say that I was interested in web security, for example, right? I could leverage those skills to then learn a lot about anti-phishing and scams and how attackers exploit websites. Another really important set of skills are the soft skills, and these are acquired throughout your career, including during, after, and before the internship. But these are really important. In addition to all those technical topics, the ability to effectively collaborate, communicate your results, and present them up to leadership are really, really important skills. So going back to kind of this theme of solving real world problems in cybersecurity, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the research and work that I did and what got me to where I am today. So my focus was on anti-phishing during my early days at PayPal, as well as while I was doing my PhD. And phishing is a major threat. We saw an uptick in phishing during COVID-19 as more people were going remote and working from home and maybe not used to being in that environment. They're being targeted by attackers and trying to be compromised through social engineering. Here's an example of that. For example, here we see that this looks like a donation page to donate to the CDC. when in fact, if you proceed through this, you're actually not going to be making a donation, but you'll be submitting your full personal and financial details to the scammers. So as I mentioned, we saw a growing trend in that over the past few years, and this is a problem that affects hundreds of millions of users across the entire internet. So to be able to really have an impact here, we need to be able to perform measurements on large-scale data and look at this problem more holistically based on different data that we can access. So going back to kind of the importance of data analysis and how I was able to leverage the PayPal internship for this. So by using PayPal data, I was able to measure large-scale phishing and use that to kind of gain an understanding of what attackers are doing, what the gaps are out in the ecosystem. And as a result of this, that internship project actually allowed us to find a critical vulnerability in the way that mobile devices are set up. And one of their anti-phishing features wasn't really working the way it was supposed to. So we worked directly with Google and Mozilla and Microsoft, let them know this issue, and following that disclosure, they actually fixed it so that the correct anti-phishing warnings were showing up in mobile devices. So this is a pretty nice outcome. And if you think about it, Android, iOS, we're talking about 1 billion plus users. So I was really excited to have the opportunity to be able to have that sort of impact. In addition, leveraging the university partnership, because I had come from, I was a PhD student at the time. So after the internship, I went back to finish my PhD, and that partnership allowed us to publish our findings, give talks, and motivate change at the ecosystem level. And now we're actually working with the anti-phishing working group, which is a large nonprofit community of anti-phishing professionals to implement our systems and make them a permanent part of the ecosystem, so that all sorts of companies can benefit from it. In addition, the work that I prototyped during my internship is now actually being used at PayPal. So I had the opportunity to contribute to a real world production system. And following some of those publications that we made, we actually won the Internet Defense Prize, which is one of Facebook's key security prizes last year. And we're continuing the university outreach, to leverage our insights and our research and continue benefiting the security kind of across the board. So now I'd like to introduce you to Yegana, who will be talking a little bit about her mobile security research. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing so that you can run the slides.
Thank you, Adam. Let me share my screen. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Yegana Ladvik. I am a part of threat management team. Do you guys see my screen?
The screen went black.
Yeah.
Yeah, just turn back black, Yegana. So.
I see black too.
There it is.
Okay, that is really interesting.
Good times.
Let me stop sharing and do it again.
You might need to open from inside the app versus a web page.
That's a brilliant idea. Let me do that then.
Gotta love technology.
Okay, I think this is going to be better. Okay, let's try this, which is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I am Yegana Ladvik with Threat Management Team, My area of work is mobile security. A bit about myself. This is how you pronounce my name, Yegane. It's hard, I know, but don't worry about it. You pronounce it however you want. My education background is I did my bachelor in pure mathematics. I went to England, UMIS University, to do my master. And I did it in image processing. So I was doing like eye detection in human face images. Back then, it wasn't like that you get your camera or anything like it, in the images, you just like they can detect faces and stuff. So that back in 2002, it was the beginning of this detection kind of thing. And then I went to work for 9 years. And then I realized that I have a passion to do research and more. So I came to the United States 2015 to do my PhD. I joined ASU. I joined CEFCOM lab. We have like a variety of good research going on in our lab. We do network security, web security, mobile security, and we do a lot of partnership, and we do a lot of collaboration with industry people such as PayPal, and this is how I get in PayPal. So through our partnership, I got a couple of internships, one in 2017, one in 2018. So as Adam mentioned, we have this like 12-week program, which is really, really interesting and fun at the same time, that you get to see different mentors throughout PayPal. You get to see what PayPal business is all about. And then you get to sit with different teams and their meetings, go through like what tasks they do on day-to-day basis. And then at the end, we have this summit that all the interns throughout the program gather together, and we have like, they have fun stuff for us to do. But other than that, like you get to know what other projects going on, like what the other interns are working on, which is really, really interesting program. And at the end of the internship, I got recognized because of my work, and it was something nice to see. And I turned my PhD into like part-time PhD, and then I joined PayPal full-time. Before I get to technical about like what I do, something that I wanted to mention that was really important to me, and I realized it after I joined, was how much PayPal care about diversity and inclusion, and how much resources they put towards these. So they have like a lot of different programs and courses for employees, including this conscious inclusion that tries to establish a common ground for leaders and employees to understand what diversity and inclusion is. And this was really interesting to me to see and to be able to work for a company that values these things. So I want to talk about how it all started for me. After I got my master, I started working at this company, and I had no idea what I was doing. So after a couple of days, like my boss asked me about like what I know about mobile programming. At the time, I didn't even know that you could actually program mobile devices. So asked me to do some research. I did for a week, and I was shocked that you can do a lot with mobile devices. So this was a phone, I think 7600, if I'm not mistaken, that I used when I did that. It was back in 2004 or 5. And we did this steganography app. That back then it was different, but that would hide your message into images. So the difference between like cryptography and steganography is cryptography, you know there's a message and it's encrypted. So the attack surface is like wider because fraudsters would know that, or attacker would know that there is a message. So they try to decode it or decrypt it. but whereas in steganography, you just don't see it. So look at these two images, they're like message hidden in them. So I was working in these kind of stuff for a while. But fast forward 15 or whatever years to now, at PayPal, what I do, I research what the current threats are in mobile ecosystems. So, and then to realize how attackers and fraudsters attacking our platform and how we can protect our users. And for that, I need to do a lot of vulnerability analysis on programs or reverse engineering different applications. And one thing that helped me was when I came here, I joined this Capture the Flag team, Pond Devils at ASU, which we did like every week. We did a couple of hours of ethical hacking. And that was something that really, at the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. But after a while, I got a grasp on how things work. And through time, like you got better and better. And this is something that really helped me starting my career. And another thing that we do is after you're analyzing stuff, you need to look at the data that we have. And given that we are like one of the biggest companies in terms of in payments world, we have a lot of data to look at. So in analyzing those data, you need to be able to do it in an optimized way. And this is some skills that you need to do data analysis. And then we identify gaps and problems that we have, control gaps that we have in our system. And for that, to solve those, you need to have that problem solving skills that we all need in this area. And then you need to be able to collaborate with different teams, because not every, as our team is like an oversight team. So we work with a lot of different teams and to try to protect our users. So this is really important for us to collaborate with other team members. So a bit about what threats we're looking at. Malware is one of the big ones, unlike in mobile ecosystem, unlike what Adam mentioned in malware sites. In mobile ecosystem, malware is like a big threat. And malware are softwares that are intentionally harming your devices or your platform. And we care about, in that sense, we care about tampered devices as well, because if you are having OS that is not the factory OS, or you're coming from emulators or rooted devices, it's really, if you have malware on your device, it's going to have more impact in terms of how they can attack you. So in PayPal, we care about detecting those and trying to protect our users if they're coming from those devices. Another thing is outdated OS. So if you're running outdated OS, this is a report like 2-3 months ago that they show that 99% of government employees are using outdated Android OS, which is a big, it increases the attack surface for attackers. And this is really important for us to be able to protect our users. All these malware and everything that I'm talking about, the big entrance for them is social engineering attacks. So they do it by phishing and getting you to download the malware or get it somehow in your in your device. So we care about that area as well. So a bit about the history of malware on a mobile ecosystem. I borrowed this nice visualization that it shows from 2004. They were focusing on like Bluetooth attacks, and then they go to do like get rooted on devices, and then gradually they move towards, because they move towards like attacking payment industries and entities, because there are more revenues for them. And the one at the bottom is us analyzing, focusing on this malware called Anubis, and that we were seeing attacking our platform and a lot of other, I think 300 something banking applications, that they would actually get into Google Play Store, and they would impersonate as an update or a calculator or a converter, but under the hood, they were stealing banking information. And it was something that it was really interesting to us to fight against. So this is a report from back in 2017 from Kaspersky, but still the case that shows that countries with most rooted devices are among the top at getting attacked, like countries. And this shows that how important it is for us to detect those devices on our platform. So some recommendations that we have is always like use PIN or fingerprint or Face ID on your phone. Use multi-factor authentication to increase the security, and then always have up-to-date antivirus on your device so that they detect like malicious activities. And then updated OS, because if you're running an outdated OS, you actually increase the chances to be attacked. And then don't install apps that you don't know the origin. So apps can show themselves as I mentioned, like an update or something benign, but they actually are malicious. So be aware of those applications. So with that, I turn it to RC for questions and answers.
Hi guys. So just as a quick wrap up to what we talked about today, right? Information security spans many domains, right? It's not just coding and developing, right? We've got a lot of different offerings and things that we have within information security that most people don't even think about to associate with information security. Also, you know, the different opportunities that we offer, we offer them to a broader range of different majors, students, recent college graduates, people with different life experience, etc. Right? And in terms of different background and knowledge you had, you know, as you can see between Adam and Yegana, right, their background is very different. Their skill sets, their knowledge are very different, but both are very valuable to our company, right? And also soft skills matter, right? It's not just about your technical acumen, but it's how well you collaborate, how well you work with others, how excited you are to just be at work and do good work and protect our customers, right? In addition to all these things, you know, one of the things we want to do is point you to our university programs group. So for anybody who's looking for internship opportunities within PayPal here in Scottsdale or in other locations, you can go to paypal.com/university to learn more. They have a really great portal with a lot of great information there. So with that, want to open the floor up to anybody has any questions for Adam, Yegana, or I. Happy to spend some time answering some.
Hi, RC. I'm going to facilitate the Q&A. So there's a few questions in the chat, so I want to get through them. How do the various acquisitions affect how PayPal goes about security? Is it a case-by-case basis, or does PayPal have minimum security standards that all acquisitions have to be brought up to?
Awesome, that's a great question. So I'll tackle it in a couple of ways. We definitely have some, some minimum levels of security that everybody has to adhere to. I think, you know, with the different companies that we have acquired, they function very differently, right? If we take a Zoom versus a Hyperwallet, right? Or a Honey, they're very different companies. That said, we do have a standard for security that all our acquired companies must adhere to. And so as we work on the integration with them, we ensure that they can actually live up to that level of security. Because again, it's one of our brand promises, right? So we definitely make sure that our security is top notch, especially when we're acquiring new companies.
Thanks, RC. What is the future and impact of cryptocurrencies in cybersecurity?
That is a very big and broad question. So one of the things I can say for that is at PayPal, we've actually launched a new business unit called blockchain and cryptocurrency. What was it? Blockchain and digital currencies, right? So we're actually very much so focused on the future of cryptocurrencies here at PayPal. It's definitely going to be very interesting as cryptocurrencies evolve and our use of them, and as they become ubiquitous, just like other financial instruments. There's definitely going to be some interesting challenges that we're going to face, and we're already thinking about, what will that look like? What will the integrations look like? What type of security risks will we be facing that are new in crypto versus traditional currencies? And we are looking into it and working on making sure we stay ahead of the cyber criminals in that regard.
Thanks, RC. Yeah, I know you asked this, shared this answer already in the chat, but in terms of security, how do you differ from Zelle being a bank-backed app?
Awesome. Well, yeah, so I can always speak to, Zelle and their security and all the rest, but what I can say, our competitive advantage comes from a lot of the security research that we do, right? Like we take a look at both Yegan and Adam and their research, right? They spent years researching their various areas of security, things like anti-phishing, right? Winning the Internet Defense Prize for that work, right? And some of the mobile security work that Yegan has been doing to ensure that our security is top notch, right? So, one of the things you look at some of the traditional banks, right? They move and act like traditional banks, as we all know. But we, being PayPal, while we are similar in that regard, we actually compete against a lot of the Silicon Valley companies, right? And this allows us to be very nimble and how we look at defending our customers and our platform against the attacks that we face. So just very different types of products.
Thank you. Where do you get your consistent information on what is going with malware?
We have a lot of different sources that we have. So we have internal research, and also we do work with different vendors and companies to help us ensure that we have our finger on the pulse of what's going on in the external community and underground communities. It's very important for us to ensure that we're one step ahead of the criminals as much as we can. And so we have folks dedicated to doing that research and ensuring that we can again stay one step ahead.
Thank you. What is the difference between oversight and audit at PayPal from a security perspective? And then a separate question, what tools do you use to evaluate normalization, credentialing, authentication, and analytics?
Awesome. So as I mentioned before, oversight is more, making sure that those gaps, or making sure that there are no gaps in our defenses, right? And so for our audit group, what they're going to do is come by and say, like, well, if gaps were identified, were they actually closed? Do we actually have tracking and visibility on those things, right? So it's definitely, we've separated those things out, those functions out, so that way we have watchers watching the watchers and all that, right? Again, we layer our defenses, we layer most things at PayPal to ensure that there are no gaps that get unnoticed, or when a gap is noticed, that it doesn't in fact get fixed. What was the follow-up question? Sorry, I missed that one.
Let's see here. What tools do you use to evaluate normalization, credentialing, authentication, analytics?
That's a big question. I know it sounds simple, but we've got quite a few different tools that we use for each of those. We've got many tools at our app defense layer that looks at anti-automation, ensuring that we don't have any kind of automated attacks against our system, such as DDoS, where criminals will basically try to flood our system with more packets that we can handle. So we've got technology for that. We obviously have some great technology for credential, checking to make sure that the actual username and password is the same, that it is you, it is your device, etc. We use multiple different types of technology for example, step-up authentication, making sure like if we do have any questions, is it you or is it not? We can ask you additional questions, security questions, do things like two-factor or multi-factor authentication. We also have some really interesting machine learning tools that we've developed for fraud purposes. So for identifying, like, is this really you? Great example of this is, like the classic one I love to use is, if every day you go to the local coffee shop and you order a coffee on PayPal, it's $5, and you've got the latest iPhone, right? And that's what you do daily. But suddenly you log in from a Windows 8 machine in some eastern part of Europe, right, at 3 a.m. That's really odd. That doesn't look like your normal pattern of behavior. Maybe we should ask you some additional questions. Maybe we should, send you an email, send you an SMS, something to verify that that's you, right? So we have different types of security at the different layers to ensure that we're protecting our the security of our customers and our information.
Thanks, RC. Rooting is a very general process and exactly the same as running the sudo command on Linux. So what makes rooting on Android a security vulnerability?
That is a Yegana question.
So rooting is not a security vulnerability. So rooting is your right. What we care about is when you're infected with malware on your device that is rooted, since we are running a banking application on your device, we really care about what you can see and what you can do in terms of not you, a malicious application that is on your device. So you have the knowledge of your username, passwords, funding instrument you have, whatever. But the malware that is on your device trying to get those sensitive data from you, and they can actually do it without you being rooted, right? But with rooted on your device, you have extra, you have like lower protection in terms of what they can do and how they can attack you and how they can persist on your device. And it's really, really hard for you to know that anything's going on your device or anyone stealing or getting access on your device. So this is what we care if you're running an application on a rooted device or not. But rooted devices in themselves, it's not a security vulnerability in that term.
Thank you. Can you suggest a good book, manual, handbook on mobile security? Maybe you can chat that for Eugene. I'm going to move along. How can you prevent over-the-air provisioning attack on Android?
That's a mobile device. That'd be another Yegana question.
Yeah, over-the-air attack, like in terms of like networking, I'm not your expert, but pretty sure there are like a lot of like network security protections that you have on your device that can prevent those attacks. Like one of them would be the updated antivirus that you have on your device, and like that's all I have.
What is the relationship between outdated OS and lack of security? Since security is an always evolving field, does that mean that skipping an update for a month has the potential to leave you at the same risk as delaying the update for a year?
So if you're running an so the way the OS works, like in mobile ecosystem, is and in anyway, even on your laptop and PCs. So they're always fixing bugs, right? They're always fixing bugs, like coming up with new security features, enhancing their security. And if you're running an OS that is like a year old, there are some known vulnerabilities that everyone knows and everyone know how to attack and how to exploit, and that leaves you a good target for them. So what they do, they analyze and scan devices, and they're like, oh, so these devices are running this version, which is vulnerable to these attacks. So they just carry those attacks on your system. Whereas if you update your OS, you still can be targeted for things that are like 0 day that no one knows about, or it's just like it reduces the risk of you being attacked.
Awesome. Staying current about what's going on in cybersecurity is something that all employers have talked about. Are there a few public newsletters or blogs or other items that you think could be valuable for future employees to subscribe to? Other thoughts about staying current you would suggest? And then just going back to that book recommendation as well.
Let's let Adam handle this one since he hasn't had any direct questions yet.
Yeah, thank you. So there's a bunch of different potential resources and directions you could go. You know, if your background is more research focused, then There are research conferences that regularly publish really good papers on the latest and greatest. Not all of it is 100% practical in the moment, but oftentimes there's some great things there. So there are 4 top security conferences that you can look at their publications and presentations. And the nice thing about those is that they actually they don't charge any fees for accessing the materials, and they also publish all of their talks on YouTube or a similar platform. So that's one way to go about it. Staying current with the news and major incidents as well is something I would recommend, and leveraging your network. And then finally, blogs. There's a bunch of security blogs where various researchers or experts in the field talk about that. So like Curbs on Security is one of them. Blogs basically every day on a bunch of different things. So those sorts of blogs, are worthwhile. But one kind of caveat is that anybody can blog about anything. So just make sure that the person who's blogging is trustworthy.
Thanks, Adam. Has iOS proven itself a more secure platform to work with, being a closed App Store environment compared to Android? And then separately, how are these 2 major platforms viewed from a security developer's perspective?
So in terms of iOS being more secure, I don't think so, because the fact is iOS is like Android is more open, and sorry, I'm losing my voice. Because because of the fact that it's open, and there are more research going on that, and there are like better fixes, more updates and things like that, because everyone's working on that. So because the fact that it's open, it actually maybe is targeted more. But iOS has its own challenges and security problems as well that they're constantly fixing, like Android. So I wouldn't say that one is more secure than the others.
Awesome. I read that Android isn't actually open source. Instead, AOSP is what is open source.
So yes, Android is in the AOSP is Android operating system, like the open source operating system platform, right? So it is open source, like the OS that you can run that is Android. You can change the configuration. You can manipulate the system calls. You can do whatever. You can hook different system calls. You can do whatever. So this is the Android that you're running on your device has the open source that you can run on emulators or actually on your device as well.
Awesome. And then I have a question. Going back to Colonial Pipeline, the government got back like $2 million worth of crypto. And considering that PayPal is serving over 23 million merchants who can now use crypto as a payment, is that top of mind in terms of people getting back their money? And crypto is supposed to be super secure.
So in terms of security is always on our mind here at PayPal. It's one of our brand promises. So we're always thinking about different ways that attackers can try to attack our customers, and making sure that we have the ability to defend our customers that is state of the art and beyond as much as possible, right? So we've got a group of researchers like the ones you've met today, really focusing in on all different types of areas of security, including cryptocurrencies. We're definitely looking into that area, thinking about what sort of ways attackers would try to attack our wallet implementation, what sort of recourse we would have, et cetera. So it's definitely something that we have thought about. And again, I can't speak for the entire company, but what I would say is that the Colonial Pipeline thing was definitely a serious issue and serious event, but it in and of itself doesn't necessarily change our views or our strategy on protecting our customers, because it's always been at the forefront of everything we do here at PayPal, right? It's one of our brand promises. It's something we take extremely serious, and we've always done so. So I think there's a lot of news going on, a lot of things that we always hear about. But again, it's always been, security has always been at the forefront for us, and it will continue to be regardless of what's going on with some of the other companies in the industry.
Awesome. So it seems that it comes down to the user to be updated and aware of security filters and or issues that are affecting their devices. Are the manufacturer communities the best way to find these information?
I would say yes. And you can also research vulnerabilities or like things that are available. And there are also like CVEs, common vulnerability exposures that you can, it shows you the list of vulnerabilities that are actually known and either fixed or they're getting fixed. And they walk you through the attacks that that you can do on certain like OS versions and things like that.
Thank you. And then if you want to report malicious mail, forward the email to spoof@paypal.com. And I'm going to put some folks to introduce themselves, put them on the spot because they haven't introduced themselves yet. So Brian, I'm putting you on the spot. Did you want to unmute yourself, share a little bit about you and why you decided to participate in this program?
Yeah, sure, Nan. Thanks for the intro. And I want to thank you all for participating in the externship program. This has been I think, a unique way of introducing folks that may not have this kind of exposure to companies like PayPal to the world of cybersecurity and information technology in a way that I think is a rare glimpse of kind of the inside view and getting to see the kind of presentations from professionals in the field that are truly, I mean, what you saw today from folks that you've been viewing all week, and that what you saw from Adam and Yegana today is just a remarkable display of the world's leading researchers at work, and you're seeing kind of scratch the surface of some really cool stuff that they get to present to our chief risk officer, and that gets reported up to our CEO and our boards. And so this is some really cool exposure you guys are getting. And I get the privilege of being able to kind of lead that function and the teams that deal with threat management and research and emerging technology areas that we work on at PayPal. So we've got a team of folks that are dealing with things that you've asked about today: blockchain-based currency, digital assets, and cryptocurrency, the areas that RC mentioned that we're dealing with in threat management and research areas across the company. And PayPal, like other companies, has some very, very unique challenges in that merging technology and financial systems, working with utility companies and the kind of technology implementations, we are now, as a digital economy, more at risk of cyber attacks and more vulnerable to technology related issues than ever before, in the sense that, literally Jerome Powell of the the United States Treasury has said that essentially the leading threat to the financial systems today is cyber attack. When you look at ransomware and you look at the attacks on financial industry and payment service providers and banks, the leading risk and threat to the viability of American economy and the global economy is now virtual. And so finding people that are interested in joining forces and building a common passion for protecting customers and data and systems is a huge commitment of ours at PayPal. You've seen a diverse representation of view that our folks have had in both bringing different experiences and education to bear. And we're looking for people that are like-minded and that are interested in investing in the community at large. So the partnerships with Phoenix Chamber of Commerce and the work that Nan has pulled together here to bring employers in and to represent the different challenges is meant to give you an idea of the types of work that you could be involved in and the types of companies that are addressing problems in different ways. So whether it's utility or healthcare, finance or insurance, we hope that you've been able to get a glimpse, and from our perspective, from kind of the fintech view of financial technology solutions, of some fields and specialties and crafts that are being developed, and how you can truly specialize and be a world expert like an Adam or a Yegana with your career path, or in different ways, taking the skills and unique gifting you've got and applying it in some creative ways to help both the community at large, our industry, and any specific companies you're interested in. So we're totally thrilled that you've joined us and I've gotten a chance to do that. And I'm I think even more encouraged to see that we've gotten some great participation. The kind of questions you guys asked is just, it's really a good representation, insight into the fact that you're thinking this through. A lot of you are already working in related fields, and it's hugely encouraging and exciting to see your participation in the program. So thank you all for doing that. Thanks for being a part of it.
Thank you, Brian. So with that said, if anyone wants to unmute and say thank you to PayPal, you may do so.
Thank you, everybody. This is
Thank you
great.
very much. Very informative.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. So this ends our session with PayPal. Brian and Yegane, RC and Adam, thank you so much for presenting to our externs. And hopefully they can connect with you outside of this externship for any guidance and mentorship.
Please do.
Awesome. Feel
Thanks,
free to
guys.
jump
Thank
off.
you.
Bye, everyone. Externs,
Bye.
stay on.